Welcome back, everybody. This is section 3, a deep dive into data connections. We're going to be working with the Excel data interpreter. We're going to be talking about splitting fields, pivoting, understanding the metadata, as well as filtering directly from the data source. This particular video is going to be about working with the Excel data interpreter. It's kind of a cool tool. And we're going to do that as well as do a little bit of cleanup beyond the data interpreter after the data are interpreted. Now, you should be able to access a data set that I cooked up. It's public data from the U.S. Census Bureau that estimates the population for each of the states of the Union. This is the raw data that comes from the Census Bureau, so it is uncleaned. And basically the idea here is to go through how Tableau sort of takes Excel data that isn't too clean and cleans it in its own way. The first thing we're going to note are some issues that Tableau is going to have. The first is that it doesn't like the fact they're merged columns. As you can see here, there's a bunch of merged columns. There's that population estimate and there's geographic area. Those are all merged columns in Excel. There's also further down, if you go all the way down, you'll see that between Wyoming and Puerto Rico, there is a space. Tableau doesn't like that because it interprets that as missing data, but it's actually not. It's just saying that Puerto Rico has a special status within the US. Next is if you go to the section, if you go up to the top here, and you look at Alabama, there's a dot. And in fact, each of the fields, each of the states has a dot in front of it. I have no idea why, but there's a dot. And there's no reason for that. This part, we're actually going to clean up in the next video. But for now, just note that that's an issue. The final issue is that there's different levels of aggregation. Within the United States, we normally say, the Northeast, which is like New York, etc. The Midwest, which is where Chicago is. The South, where Florida is. And the West, where California is. Those are summaries of each of the individual states. So it's basically showing different levels of aggregation. All we want are the states. So it's kind of annoying to have it that way. Those are the issues that we have with this data. And so now we're going to go over to Tableau. And we're going to open this file using Microsoft Excel right there. We'll just open it up. And wherever you have your file, just double click on it to open it. And here is our data set. Now, what I'm going to do here is simply drag. I'm going to show you how it looks, how at first Tableau interprets this particular data set. So let's open it up. Takes a few minutes because it is, it's not a big data set, but sometimes it takes a little bit to be able to just show the data. And here you can see that there's a bunch of nulls, which is really annoying. Those nulls aren't actually real nulls, but it looks like a null. And so we need to do something about that. Also, it looks like the field names aren't showing up. It's kind of showing F2 and F3 and F4. So we need to fix this. So let's drag that NST01 over. And then here is how it looks, right? Kind of problematic. So now what we're going to do is we're going to use Tableau's homegrown use data interpreter function. And what it does is it takes the data and sort of looks at it in its own way and attempts to clean it up. So let's see how well it does. I check it, and what it does is that it generates an Excel spreadsheet. It fixes it here, and this looks like the fixed stuff. It looks pretty good, actually. But let's see what happens. So let's click on Review the Results, which is that hyperlink. And what it's going to do is it's going to generate another Excel spreadsheet, unrelated to the one you just downloaded, that will tell you exactly what Tableau did to kind of fix and clean up the data set in Excel. So let's do that now. Let's see what happens. Boot up the Excel machine there. And here it has some information. You can read through it. It's actually pretty interesting. If you want, you could pause the video, take a look at some of the stuff. I highlighted that Tableau actually doesn't change your data source. It merely reinterprets it based on what they feel is the ideal way to deal with the data. And here you can say, okay, here's what they're doing with the data to kind of address some of the issues. Notice it doesn't correct the periods, things like that. So let's just close this up. I'm not saving it. I don't really need it, to be honest. And in here we have this data set. And so that was the data interpreter. Now let's just do a little bit of cleanup. This is a very straightforward cleanup. All we're going to do is we're just going to rename some of these variables. So it's kind of annoying to have like April, whatever. Those two are just estimates. I don't even want those. So I'm just going to hide them. And I just right click and hit hide. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to rename these other ones. And here it says as of July 1st, 2010. Those are actually what that means is that it's 2011. So I'm going to right click and do rename and just type in 2011 and do tab. I do tab and then go to the next one, hit tab again, 2013 all the way to 2018. So I'm going to rename those. And the reason I'm renaming those is that you're going to see in a future video that we're going to pivot them to make it conform to what Tableau really likes. And so this is a very straightforward way to get fairly dirty data, not too messed up data, but somewhat problematic data into Tableau in a super easy way. It doesn't take very long at all, and I highly recommend it.